Donald Trump is under stress. Donald Trump is distressed. No, it's not a new Dr. Seuss book. It's Donald Trump and what he's filed in a Texas court to argue and to put pressure on Paramount, who owns CBS, to argue that his case is worth more than the $15 million that they've offered to settle it. This all has to do with Kamala Harris's interview on 60 Minutes because they edited it. What are you supposed to do? I'm supposed to sit and watch hours. This isn't C-SPAN. I'm supposed to watch hours and hours of rambling politicians. No, they're supposed to edit it into an entertaining package, and that's exactly what they did. But Donald Trump said, no, they did it in a way that defamed him and undermined public confidence. I don't know. Last time I looked, he won the election. So I don't really see what his damages are, let alone emotional distress. And if he's in such emotional distress, maybe he should step down as being president. But then again, that would just give us J.D. Vance. We break it all down for you on the Saturday edition of Legal AF, the #1 podcast on YouTube for law and politics. And here's a clip.
That in Donald Trump's $20 billion lawsuit against Paramount, which owns CBS, where the show 60 Minutes is distributed by, Donald Trump filed an opposition to CBS and Paramount's motion to dismiss. Now, in the background of all of this, we've learned that there have been mediations between Paramount and Trump. Paramount is trying to merge, basically sell the majority shareholders' stake to a company called Skydance, which would become the controlling shareholder. That merger requires approval by various government entities, from the DOJ, from an antitrust perspective, and also the FCC, because they control a lot of individual channels and local TV channels. And so Donald Trump has basically threatened, if you don't settle with me, you're not going to get approved for the merger. All of the reporting, which has gone thus far unrebutted, is that Paramount has offered to settle with Donald Trump on this ridiculous lawsuit for $15 million. But Trump wants at least $25 million and a public apology to be paid to Donald Trump personally. This lawsuit, and CBS hasn't agreed to those terms yet. There have been a lot of people at CBS, from the main producer at 60 Minutes to the president of CBS News, who have resigned from their positions because they feel their editorial judgment has been compromised by all of this. You know, ultimately, if CBS and Paramount settle, you know, I wonder what Skydance is even acquiring, because, you know, the asset itself, I think, will be so sullied that they're going to be acquiring, and this is my opinion, a dead asset, because who the hell is going to watch anything if they settle for that amount of money, or ever kind of, you know, how could you ever trust anything they say ever again? So they got to deal with that. But this lawsuit, Donald Trump filed it in last year. It was former Vice President Kamala Harris appeared on 60 Minutes. Donald Trump was too afraid to appear on 60 Minutes. They did a promo of Kamala Harris's interview where her answer on Israel was, and what she was doing in Israel, on Gaza, was a bit meandering. It was a bit just wordy, and it wasn't crisp. In the final production that aired, her answer was a bit tightened and it looked just a little bit crisper. Some removals of ums and ahs, you know, and just the answer was a little bit more compacted. And Donald Trump said that was something that caused, like, there was no real manipulation that took place. There was no edit that was of any material nature. I still think that the answer that she gave when they showed the one on 60 Minutes, like, wasn't not necessarily a clear answer, but in, you know, they sit with you for hours and hours and hours. They have to compact it into, 45 minutes when you add the commercial breaks into it. And, usually you'll use your editorial judgment and say, hey, I'm not cutting something material. I just have to shorten this thing so it could go on TV. But Donald Trump said that's caused him grievous emotional distress. He had Ronnie Jackson, his a MAGA Republican Congress member from Amarillo, Texas, join the lawsuit so they could file this in Amarillo, Texas, to draw a Trump favorable judge, who was the only judge who sits in Amarillo, Judge Matthew Kaczmarek. And they got that judge because they said, look, Ronnie Jackson was injured too. And like, what were you injured for? They're like, yeah, we were consumers. We were deceived by the ad. about what was going to be shown. Then we watched the 60-minute show, and then that caused us real serious emotional distress. And now we're in pain. We have pain and suffering in the amount of $20 billion. And again, don't take my word for it. Go read their filings. This is their memorandum of law in opposition to the motion to dismiss that was filed. On page 25, they go, finally, plaintiff, being Donald Trump's reliance and damages, are more fulsomely discussed with respect to plaintiff's injury. In fact, as noted, plaintiffs relied both on defendants' false and misleading advertisements, as well as their deceptively edited content, leading both to pecuniary damages and for President Trump damage to his campaign, as well as mental anguish and confusion as to the truth of the matters asserted by defendants. And then they cite their complaint that he's suffering from mental anguish as a result of this, because one of the arguments CBS raised is there's no, in addition to it not being defamatory or not being a violation of any consumer statute, what's his injury? And Trump says mental anguish, $20 billion. I mean, again, how pathetic can you get right there? Go back and watch the full hot take that I do where I read Trump's complaint. I read all of the allegations. So you can go back if you want to see and just verify what I'm saying here, that Trump claimed his injury was the advertisement used slightly different words than was in the 60 Minutes when they edited and cut it. That's what he said caused him serious damage.
We call that kind of quick clip the After Dark edition. We bring it over here on Legal AF, the YouTube, so we can have one-stop shopping for all things law and politics. Hit the free subscribe button while you're here and help us continue to grow our audience for the Legal AF podcast every Wednesday and Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern time right here on the Midas Touch Network and on Legal AF. And then we need more audio downloads. So if you can go over to the audio podcast side and listen to the audio there, that would be of great help to the show, to keeping us on the air and all the rest. So until my next report, I'm Michael Popok. Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.